Welcome back to another episode of Sidewalk Saturday. Today we got my good bro here with me. This is the Prime Minister of Pickups, the one, the only, Nike Phillips, people.
Hi, good afternoon.
Now, today we're going on a topic which isn't too controversial, but it's on the borderline. So we're talking about making amends with your demons. Now, this is very broad. Very, very broad. So it can be making amends with your baby moms, making amends with that ex. It could be making amends with people who you don't have good working relationships with. It could be like a broad topic. And how do you deal with those demons that you have to make amends with? So let me start off and ask you the question: do you have any persons that you've had like bad relationships with that it felt awkward out in public because you them had some sort of, good thing and then it went left? I'm gonna say went left, like Beyonce, to the left, everything yeah.
I think, let me once again thank you for inviting me on the show.
Yeah.
I feel really, really honored to be a part of, what you're trying to put together here.
Yeah.
And I do see a lot of things happening for you going forward, positive.
Thanks.
Yeah, man. So, in terms of the question you asked, you have to realize in life you're always going to be the villain in somebody's story.
True.
I mean, your intentions can always be positive, well lit meaning very, very, forward going and everything. But then you aren't going to be everybody's friend. You're not going to be the friend of, you're not going to be everybody's favorite. So for me, a lot of the amends I've had to make in my life started very awkwardly. Awkwardly meaning that I had to look at myself, because before we're very easy as human beings. We're very easy to blame the other person because we're always going to go in victim mode.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're an empath, if you're somebody who is emotionally, more so emotional than practical in nature, I think the thing is that we tend to look at the other person doing us the harm as opposed to us really taking stock of ourselves, taking accountability for what we've done. I like to tell people that if you see me act out a character or reach to the point where my volume has to raise and I have to move from my smooth, mellow voice into falsetto, it's not because I come into the gate that way. Something or someone or some instance had to happen for me to elevate and go to that next level, because we're reactionary creatures.
True.
So in that aspect, I had to look at myself and realize to myself that, okay, maybe there were some things that I needed to change about myself or some things that I needed to tweak about myself. And then you set yourself in a position where you can then have that amends conversation with the party that affected you or you affected. And then you can probably have that reciprocation of, let's get to the bottom of this.
Yeah. Have you ever had that awkward moment where you're out and you butt up on somebody randomly that you and them haven't made peace on certain things, and how do you go about the situation? Does it feel strange? Like, how do you navigate that situation?
Kudos for using butter, first and foremost. Second of all, of course, we're anterior. I mean, you can't go 15 minutes without, butting up into somebody that you probably don't bang with, somebody who's probably wronged you, somebody who you definitely can't stand. Because, as much as we try to portray this type of, I keep telling people, being positive is an exercise. It's not as easy to do as to follow something negative. For you to follow something negative, it's almost automatic. But then the thing is, if you still want to portray this whole facade, or you're definitely being genuine about being positive, yeah, of course you are going to be tested in the form of, yes, being in places where you've met somebody or you've unexpectedly met somebody that you've wronged.
Yeah.
You see, the thing is, right? I'm gonna say it like this: persons that you've wronged, person who's, people who've wronged you, and people that you just cannot stand to share the same oxygen with. And I'm gonna go back to the people that wronged you. Sometimes we have to really. I think that's when the amends start, because I think it's a situation where more of your, the bending that you have in life comes from the people that you've actually thought that did something to you first.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, as you grow older and as you get a little wiser, you realize that as much as you give them that really primary hate, literally they should have been getting some kind of secondary emotions, because the person who probably put everything in place in terms of planting some sort of negative seed in their head, it wasn't the person or your friend who you thought wronged you, but it was just as a reactionary, defense mechanism on their part because of some sideways crap.
Yeah.
Somebody in their circle probably told them.
See, it's funny that you mentioned about that whole defense mechanism thing, because much persons don't really understand or realize when people react a certain way due to a certain situation, it's something that helps to protect them. And for me personally, I remember when me get a knuckle, I'm not afraid to say so, man get knuckle and now the deal with it good. You get a wicked knuckle in the 2014, right? And after that knuckle, get magra, start get quiet, now they do the normal stuff that I'm accustomed to do. And I said to myself, like, on some toxic vibe, I said, I'm going to make every woman feel how I felt in this phase right now. And that was a mission for me to tell you. When I tell you, I end up and do some people, y'all pick me bad. But coming close to a certain point in my life, I realized, like, yo, you're gonna have to done with all of this and make amends with the people who you hurt, like, genuinely. Like, I can sit down and look back and say, I've made peace with the people who I've hurt. Some people didn't like it, some people still hate me up to this day, some people accepted it. And you can really see, like, yo, the people who you hurt badly and you regret, but at the same time too, you were going through a phase and you didn't know how to handle that same phase. You just doing whatever came to your mind sporadically. So when you mention about defense mechanisms, persons need to understand that you have good and bad defense mechanisms in terms of helping you how to cope to deal with certain situations. For me, I had to grow up out of my own and really held myself accountable and being responsible for the things that I did. And it's not something that I'm proud of, but when I look back at it, I was like, I could have handled that way much better, but now I know how to go about things like those. So just want to share that with you when you mention the term defense mechanism and so forth,
That's cool. I mean, listen, apart from you not getting the light disconnected, mash up their water meter, or restrict them from going to the bread shop, every bread shop. I don't think, those things are bad things you could do to them. But it does show growth and some sort of accountability when you can actually look at yourself and say, yeah, I did do some real petty crap to this person because of how they affected my feelings. And I guess all of us have done that. I mean, I'm pretty sure none of us are exempt from posting something on social media or even talking to somebody in a casual aspect, explaining to them about, or trying to plant some sort of a poisonous seed in somebody's mind towards someone. But I mean, it does show that the accountability factor does come into play, and that's always a good thing, because you don't want that negative energy to resonate through your head. You don't want that negative seed to just keep growing and festering. Because what's that gonna do? It to me, that all that does is it poisons a lot of the relationships that you already have. It does poison you from, and in your circumstance, which I'm really proud of you for admitting, it was not the first time I heard you say it, but in your aspect, it didn't really debilitate or hinder you from even trying to pursue another relationship. Because after you sat down to yourself and you realize, okay, this person did wrong me, this person put me in a real, dark hole of toxic emotions and everything. But then I'm pretty sure that once you got over it, 'cause getting over it can be a two-way sword.
Yeah.
Getting over it could be, I'm not going to allow these emotions to affect me anymore, but I'm never going to mess with another woman again.
True.
Because you're not even going to try to give yourself that, you're not even going to put yourself back in that arena where somebody can mess up your all-white Air Forces.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? You're not going to throw caution to the wind and risk it. But then, making up means that, or making amends with your mind, because it starts with you. Because you're saying to yourself, maybe I shouldn't have done what I did. I made a bad situation worse, and this is how I'm gonna move forward. There's no problem with you being cautious.
Yeah.
But I don't think you being cautious should stop you or hinder you from either taking the risk to move forward to be with somebody else. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I might sound real hypocritical because I literally am still in a situation where, for me personally, I still think I need to do a lot more upgrades to my life and my lifestyle before I can even think about entertaining a relationship. And the reason why I say this is because in my history, the lack of things or the want of a lot of things, the finances did play a major part. I think, looking back at it, because hindsight is 2020.
Yeah.
That should have been in place, could have been in place, but then you have sometimes in your mind you have this type of blind bravado where you think that, okay, I'm the man and I should be the one to deal with all the liabilities. Chief breadwinner, chief, string taker, broad his back, when literally you have, it's like you're calling somebody, you're being hypocritical to yourself because you're telling somebody, you're my equal, you're my yang.
Yeah.
You're my plus one. Not even a plus one, but you're the one who enhances me. But then you're showing this person this type of facade where you're telling them that they're so strong, that you rely on them so much. But then when things like finances or, unexpected problems arise in the household, you want to be the one to shoulder all the weight. So literally, you're literally looking at the other person and tell them, okay, I appreciate your strength in these factors.
Oh, I see.
But in terms of anything that's going to affect the entire household, I prefer to take that, take the brunt of the attack.
Yeah.
But I think in that aspect, you look at yourself and you say, but I'm not really allowing this person to be their true 100. There can only be 100 in these, subconscious factors that you put them, or categories that you put them in. But then at the end of the day, you have to look at yourself and say, no, they're not being their true selves.
True.
They're looking in the mirror. I think it was the Most Def line on his Black on Both Sides album where he says, all of us are looking in the mirror at our true selves, but then we still have blind eyes where we're looking at our new selves. So it's like we portray this kind of image of ourselves, of what we would want us to be, but then we're not looking at our true self, looking back at us.
Yeah. Okay, you dropping gems. I see you dropping gems with the hip hop catalog and all that kind of stuff, but we ain't gonna go on that too yet.
I mean,
But has there ever been an instance or a situation that dragged itself out where you almost lost someone and it just could have been resolved simply by a simple phone call, a simple text, or something, just a link up or something, like you and the person would just squash it one time, but it just dragged out and you almost lost a friendship or a relationship, something like that?
Yeah. I very recently I've gone through that where I think I'm gonna take the blame for this because I expressed my frustration about something that I heard one of my longtime friends say about me, and I relayed that message back to somebody else, And then by the time we got back to him, it made it look like I was confirming what he thought. If that makes any sense.
That makes sense.
Somebody said something to somebody and they were like, they believed this to be true. And then I guess the energy that the person came in through at me, I went into, I went into defense mode. And when I went into defense mode, I just basically spat back some more venom. And then by the time we went back around to them, it sounded so out of the box that I knew that there would never be another friendship again. There would be instances of, like, it went from being a friend. It went from, basically my relationship went from being like another brother to a friend, to a casual friend, to literally an acquaintance. Because of how I live and everything, and somebody that I live close to. So because it happened, there are these instances that we spoke about in the first segment about bumping into people.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not awkward because I don't really have any kind of drama in my heart or animosity in my heart towards them, but it's just a situation where, and I'm gonna take blame for this. Maybe I could have picked up the phone and had this verbal,
trashing
because
it out.
we've had, we've never agreed. And that's the beauty of our friendship, because we had similar values in a lot of topics, but we all had different opinions. So all of us had our own different ways of, it's like we all have to draw a picture, but as opposed to you having to use a manual sharpener, somebody had to use an electric sharpener, when somebody could have literally used a razor, or where somebody would literally buy pencils or a pre-sharpener. So it was like that. It was like we weren't going to draw the picture, but then everybody had their own way of applying, of prepping to reach that goal. I read something the other day. It says, it's weird how we as people, we can't see a little eye to eye couldn't have been mended with a little heart to heart. So
you just keep dropping gems and being deep and stuff, innit? You enjoy it.
I'm a smart guy. Admittedly. But the thing, no, I was telling my kids, you don't have to know everything about everything, but know a little bit about everything.
Yeah.
So the thing is, where you have to sit down and come to this humility in your own spirit and say, hey, listen, let me check my anger. Let me check. And let me tell you, we have a lot of things. We have passion, we have anger. All right?
Yeah.
We have emotions, but none of them can carry more weight, can take more blow. None of them can drink more poison and still live more than our ego. So if you can't put your ego aside, I'm talking about your ego aside, and tell your ego, yo, I'm gonna call this dude up to clear shit up. And then they're like, because the conversation starts in your head first. But if you can't check your ego, even if it's a very random occurrence where you have to, meet up with this person, there will never ever be any kind of resolution.
True.
And then you go into this frame of, when you see me, you hear me, but there won't be a convo.
Yeah.
When I see him, I'm gonna hear him, but there won't be a convo. So there's never ever really a mending. But then there's this level of
Tension.
IDGAF, and then you're like, hey, whatever.
But it's still tension. It's still some sort of tension.
I mean, it becomes tension to the point where it's like when you get a tattoo. It's hard at first, it's shocking at first, it's hard after, it's euphoric after, until to the point where the euphoria wears off and you're like, alright, let me just soldier through this. And then after you soldier through it, you have a pretty tattoo. Or you have a jacked up piece of blotchiness on your arm. But the fact of the matter is you live with it.
Yeah. You ever been in a case where you have to choose between closure, making amends, and I am perfectly fine with me and you not being friends or having any relation? Because you have to put those three into perspective, and people normally don't put the last option into play, because sometimes you have to be cool with just soldiering on, and you know what you know for you and what works best for you. And sometimes persons don't take that last option as a way in terms of considering. So have you ever dealt with either of the three?
Of course. I mean, life has thrown so many different things at me. And, with different people and different, reactions and different occurrences, you definitely have to treat different, you have to apply different, end results to each of them. Not everything is always going to be a resolution. Some relationships just cannot be mended. Some relationships, as much as you might have this love for the person or this kind of appreciation for the person, it doesn't automatically equate into a perfect or even amicable relationship. Some things are just toxic. You know why? I think sometimes we look so much for ourselves in other people, or if we see some semblance of ourselves in other people from the first, the first touch, the first impression, is that we tend to want to build on that. But then we don't know what type of frame of mind that person was in to have them thinking like that. Maybe they weren't being their true self. So if they weren't being their true self, and then they get to the point of comfort, relaxation, and openness with you, and then you start seeing the true self, and then your mind, your spirit just tells you, hey, listen, I'm gonna bang with this person, but I'm not really gonna be banging with this person.
Oh.
And then you have to be like, I'm cool with this person being who they are, but I don't necessarily need to be in their circle.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily have to be a part of this clique. It's like like a basketball team. Everybody is a role player, And you gotta be okay with the dude that just pulls the rebounds as opposed to the dude that takes 90% of the shots.
Yeah.
I mean, you might come from a different. It's all. You know what life is? Life is about adjusting and readjusting and realizing. Because I keep telling people, I'm 44 right now, and it'll take me really, really, really long to become a different person than the person that you see now. You know what I mean? I still get laughed at. I was literally like maybe 2 hours ago, I was telling somebody some kind of relate, and the way I'm talking to you now is like, you just come back. You don't talk to me and speak spoken. It didn't stop me. And then when I asked him a question, he's like, well, we just cut the grass down the road. And I was like, wow, see? So it's just like that. So, it's all about you just. It took me a while to become the person I am. And it's, as I said, I'm 44. I don't even think I have the energy to try to become a totally different person or a more acceptable person. Because if you don't have that energy in you or that passion in you to do it, I think you just cheat yourselves and you're existing but you're not living.
Yeah.
It's just, okay, think back in this. I'm pretty sure when you started growing your hair, because a lot of people became accustomed to seeing you a particular way, they felt uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But then they had to go through that, discomfort, and then it's like, it's like me trying to grow a beard. My friends keep telling me, yo, you have to go to the patchy phase. You have to go to the patchy phase before you can get that full flourishing.
Sometimes it still needs to connect.
Face pillow, But then, it's either two things. Either you can weather all the harsh scrutiny of your patchy beard until the luxuriousness of your face cushion comes, or you can basically change things, readjust it, do something, but the end result has to be your comfort.
True.
I mean, all of us can be in any situations that we want to be in, but then if you're not comfortable, it makes no sense. It's like, yo, dude, looks so good in that suit, but you can't breathe it out.
Yeah.
Your comfort should be more valuable than anything.
Cool. You were saying something about playing your role, and I remember I was having this conversation with a friend recently, and it was something based on relationship, and I said to her, it's like, I can like somebody, but at the same time too, I can fake it in a relationship, and when
Why
it
would
gets
you
to
wanna
the
do that?
no, I was explaining to her in context. She's like, "Oh, you and the person got so much in common." I was like, "We got so much in common, but if I don't feel it with you, I'm not gonna really be in it. It's like I can be the best boyfriend you want me to be, not you, for the females that is." But I was making that point. I said, once I'm faking it, I can fake it good. But once I'm done, like I'm done, all the cracks gonna show. I'm gonna start acting out, and it's not gonna be honest. I wasn't honest and truthful to you. So I said to her, like, yo, instead of like me embarrassing the person, just be upfront and say, yo, it's not worth the time. I don't want you to have any ill feelings towards me, and such and such. And that's something I think that we need to do off the jump, off the bat. Just be upfront with people rather than you leading them along, and then you end up in the situation where you and them have bad blood, or you're not on speaking terms with them, or for worse off, they don't want to see you in public. Like when they see you, their face screwed up because of you. They leave certain events and venues because of you. You not talk about my life here. I tell you what the girl them say when they see their waist man and their ex man and all that. Some of the people. Me not talk about me. I'm just speaking on behalf of the voice. But
They're proving on to nobody.
me just the same. You understand? But all of that still, all that. What King Spice?
Yeah.
I'd like to thank you for coming through on Sidewalk Conversations. Really, and
No
truly.
doubt.
It was a privilege, it was a blessing, and all that good stuff. Hope we can say come back next time. I had
Of
another
course.
conversation.
And I appreciate, again, I want to commend you on actually taking the stance to do this. And I really got to commend you on, sticking to it. I mean, a lot of people would not necessarily, start it and maybe 3 episodes in wouldn't even want to even pursue it.
True.
Especially with all that's going on right now.
Yeah.
And, I do appreciate when I see young people, at least thinking out the box, being willing to talk about themselves, being willing to listen and not talk at people.
Yeah.
And to put in this type of stuff because, this is the next thing. And, thank you.
Yeah. You have to give Aziz some credit, because Aziz is week after week, a ton of, right?
Aziz is
behind
my
the camera.
Unofficial little brother. I love him to pieces. I keep adding on to different things on his these lovely poems that he keeps adding on Instagram. A lot of them, I probably deletes them because he'll get really deep about. I think he mentioned sometimes it's like something beautiful, and then I think I put M booty in the comments, and I went back and didn't see my comment anymore. But I guess he has a particular audience that he's looking at.
True.
But it doesn't stop me from looking at poems by Aziz on Instagram to get some sort of inspiration because he's a positive dude. He can be righteous and ratchet, and I love it.
True.
He's not few people that I actually talk to that have a man bun, but
True. But I'm going to show you a farm. If you want to get Aziz to go over the moon, Jupiter, and Mars and all that someday, send you a picture with Alicia Keys and see what happens.
I'm supposed to watch you back?
Yeah, me tell you, right? Tell you.
Alicia Keys come with baggage, though. You go ahead.
Me tell you.
Egypt, India, I think.
Me see something about Alicia Keys, right? I must put Aziz's name in the comments. Aziz end up and respond to me in the DMs. Bruh, thank you. Monday has been made.
Alicia Keys is beautiful, but she all hips, no booty.
Lord, me not go there. That's a wrap, people. Until next time.